welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD. I'm Renee Allen, host of this podcast. Excited to be here today. I was trying something out. I don't think anybody will do this because, who pays attention to detail that much when it comes to somebody other than yourself. But I played with putting a wool blanket over this leather chair to help with sound absorption, because that's supposed to be helpful to have things like I've got a little chair cushion here along the wall and all these things that I'm trying to make it so it's not echoing here, and the whole blanket's just slid down. So I tried a green blanket last time. I'm trying, these are just yoga blankets. I'm trying this, I don't know. I think it's because I took my jacket off. I was too hot. Because I changed my jacket. I'm really just recording this right after the other one. So, yeah, my jacket's making me uncomfortable because I didn't take it all the way off. But life is good. How are you doing today? Welcome to the podcast. I get cold sometimes, I get hot sometimes, and thought a purple jacket would be good, but no. And now I've lost my blanket on my chair. I'm just going to have to live with it and call it good, I think. But I am excited to talk to you today about the power of the spoken voice. I don't know if this microphone needs to be moved, but I will try. So, the power of the spoken voice. What is this all about? Well, when you talk out loud, it does something. When you hear a voice out loud, it does something. And it has an effect on you, and it has an effect on others. So if you're speaking to someone, anything that you say, if they're listening, can have an impact on that person. If you say something to yourself, it can also have an impact. And I don't know if you've ever talked to yourself out loud. Sometimes it can help you remember what you're doing. You need to go in another room to do something and you're afraid you're going to forget, or you go in that room and you do forget what you're doing. So you go back out and go back in the first room, the kitchen, the bedroom, whatever, and think, why did I go in the other room? I have no idea. I don't have no idea. Once you get into the first room, you remember, and then you might talk to yourself on the way in there and just say it over and over. I'm in here to get my shoes, or whatever it is. And that can help. That can help you remember something. That can just give information. But there's a lot more power to the voice, the spoken voice, than giving information, because the voice carries with it feelings, emotion. It just has a great impact. And especially when you have love and respect for the person who's speaking. Maybe you don't have love for them. Maybe you have a respect because it's somebody that you're learning from. You don't know them well enough to love them, but you love hearing their voice. You love learning from them. Or maybe it's just what's it called? An accent. Do you like British accents or Australian accents? That can have power. Sometimes somebody who speaks like Colin Firth, maybe they don't have anything wonderful to say, but they have, you hear that voice and you just kind of melt and you think, yes, everything you say is lovely because it's a beautiful sound to you, whether it's because you watched Jane Austen movies and you decided that you loved it. I'm realizing I don't really need my glasses for this one because I'm not trying to read the computer screen, and I didn't on the other one either, but I wore them anyway. But anyway, I'm going to give my head a little glasses break. But the power of the spoken voice. So I wrote my notes down on real paper this time, and so I might be looking down from time to time. If you're listening on audio, you're thinking, I don't care. I don't need to hear about your classes. I don't need to, and I need to put them back on to read it on my book. But to start out with that, I want you to know that part of my purpose for creating a podcast goes to the last episode, the need to share, the need to talk, the need to have my spoken voice speaking. But the other part, once I decided my podcast was going to be for women with ADHD, I wanted us to learn together. I wanted you to be able to hear ideas, be able to connect with somebody else who has ADHD, and whether or not you can relate to what I go through, I might talk about something in a way that helps you understand yourself better or helps you understand your relationship with someone else better who may have a different variation of ADHD, or you might learn how what you do affects them. So all of these things, I'm hoping that not only are you learning things like what does impulsivity mean and what are the different kinds? You might not really need that in life, except if you're able to understand your child better or understand yourself better. So that's my hope, is that by learning about ADHD in my very non-science way, my way that I can, it can help you put the little dots together, connect the dots, and understand how your brain works, whether it's scientifically accurate or not. It's going to help you more than reading a scientific study will, just if you understand enough to change your behavior or change your thoughts or not feel as bad about yourself or whatever it is. What's important is that it communicates to you so that your life can be better. That's the first thing. And that sounds like a really big, tall order, doesn't it? But I think it can happen. I think that's what we do when we talk to each other with friends, is we find ways to connect so that we learn and grow and hopefully do better in life. The other thing is my big purpose, and it's a purpose that I have for every person I run into. I'm not always good at it, but it's my aim in life. When people started talking about mission statements for businesses, I didn't have a business. I was still a stay-at-home mom. But I thought, if I had a mission statement, because people used to actually put them in their signatures of their emails, or if they were on a forum, they'd have it at the bottom of everything that said Renee at the bottom or something. And the one that I came up with is that I want other people to see in themselves the greatness that I see or other people who know them see. I want them to know how wonderful, fabulous, amazing they are, because everyone has that worth. Everyone has something that is amazing about them, that is just, whether it's going to win the Olympics or win an award or not, it is something that is that great. It might not be measurable in a race. It may not be measurable with a score of 10.0 or anything like that, or winning a Grammy or anything like that. Those things don't matter in life, really. I mean, to a musician, it might be, that might be their goal. I mean, it probably is. But with human to human contact with our lives, what matters most is the connections we make, how we feel about ourselves, and how we can make it through our lives day to day. Because each of us have some interaction with somebody. Part of that's with ourselves, part of it's with someone else. And if we're feeling more whole as a human, we're going to enjoy our lives better. We're going to interact with people better. We'll care for them in a better way. We'll be cared for in a better way. And even if I wasn't trying to sell it, like, why it's important, what's really important is I have been around people where I just sense this essence of them. And anybody I've spent time with long enough, or even if I just taken the moment to notice it, because sometimes you're just busy in your interaction, you're not noticing it. But if you really just kind of slow down, this is even before I taught yoga or knew anything about breathing. If you really slow down and just notice the person, notice their being inside, you will find something fabulous. And especially if you're talking to them, if you don't get to interact quite that much, you might not sense it as much. But you see something in them that can't be described. And you want to be able to express that to them, especially people you love, through gifts or compliments. And I feel like all of that is an effort, an attempt to describe that, but I don't know if we can actually describe what is so amazing, glorious, fabulous, meaningful to have that person in your path. And if you were able to take what you see and communicate that to that person, help them see it for themselves, I think that could be the greatest gift. That's what I would love to do. And I don't know that you can do it. And with your own children, sometimes we try to do that, when they're talking about, I don't feel good about myself because of this, this, or this. And you're thinking, no, no, you're great, great. And they say things like, oh, but you're my mom. You have to think that. And it's like, no, I don't have to think that. But I see something that you don't see, and yeah, I might see more because I have given so much to you. I've spent so much time with you. I have this deep love, but it can be like that even with somebody that you've met for a half hour on an airplane or something. And I haven't met most of you, I would love to. That would be the greatest thing to have a big retreat. We all get to know each other and have fun. But if I can help you feel that way about yourself just through your own thoughts, your own words, your own interactions, your own noticing, your own ability to notice, and to get rid of thoughts that might be getting in the way of that, that would be my dream. That would be the best. Not necessarily for me, but just because I know it's important for you. So that's just bringing this purpose statement into this about the spoken word. All that being said, the next thing is your mindset. What's going on in your mind and how that can change hearing someone speak. On my website, a few times I've written that I'm a mindset expert, and then I think, well, people think that's hokey. Well, they think, and I don't know, like, is there some qualification to be a mindset expert? I teach yoga. I teach at the highest level. My certification is at the highest level it can be as a yoga teacher, unless I had a yoga studio and got the certification for my yoga studio as a teaching studio. But I've learned and learned and learned, and I continue to learn. And the thing that I tend to understand the best, more than the anatomy piece or the exact alignment for every single pose and cue and things like that. Do I enjoy that when I go to another person's class when they teach that? Sure. If they don't say it too much. At some point, I can't listen to it anymore. but I know it's really beneficial for a lot of people. Yes, would I love to do that? Have I tried to do that? Have I taken courses to try to memorize all that? Yeah. Can I do it? It's not my gift. It's not my gift. But what my ability is, what my gift in yoga, where my genius level, if there's that, is more understanding what happens in your brain and how to take what's happening, how to learn, how to notice what's going on in your mind and how to change it. And there's so much power in that, not just in a yoga class. A yoga class is an opportunity to practice that. It's not your real life. It's an opportunity to let go, relax, energize, sweat, whatever kind of yoga class you're taking. But really, it's an opportunity to notice what's going on in your mind, what you can get rid of, what you can let go of, and just get in the habit, kind of like when you practice the piano, you get in the habit of pushing this finger on the note C. It's the same kind of thing, is that you're teaching yourself to notice your mindset, to see if you can change it, to notice your thoughts, see if you can change them. That's that's where I see myself as a mindset expert. An expert might not be the best word, but I understand it deeply. Am I able to communicate it? I hope so. But I also know that when you're teaching a class, you can only say so many words. People max out. You need to give them some time without a lot of words, and you have to give cues on the poses. So, anyway, back to the power of the spoken voice is that when someone speaks to you or when you speak to yourself, something will happen in your mind, in your heart, in your being. And today I want to just explore that, the power that the spoken voice has, and let you know that your voice can do that for you too. So if you think about the different ways to hear a spoken voice, it can be, I don't have no idea if I can read my notes here. I wrote them scribbly in the bathroom this morning as I was getting ready. But if you say something out loud, you get to vocalize it, you get to feel that in your body. And you also get, so you get to express it in some way, whether it's to just remember something, to remind yourself of something, or to communicate with somebody else. But if it's just you and you're saying it out loud, you get to hear it in addition to thinking it. So sometimes, whether it's reminding yourself of something or motivating yourself to do something, if you can't get that bit of dopamine, if you can't get that nudge, if you can't get yourself to do something, sometimes just saying, stand up now. You can do this. Hearing yourself say it, in addition to saying it out loud, can be powerful. It might make you laugh. It might make you think, like, why do I have to talk to myself to make myself do it? But it can have power. Is it effective for everyone? I don't know. We all have our blocks with motivation and overwhelm and all that, but it is powerful. It can help you do something. It can help you go through the motions, even if it is smile, try to think more positively about this person, whatever you're saying out loud, you can say that to yourself inside. You can say it out loud, and it is more powerful to say it out loud. So I invite you to do that. Another thing is sometimes you hear other people's words, obviously, right? We hear people speak, that's how we communicate. And when they say something to us, it might go in one ear and out the other, or we might remember it for the rest of our lives. We might remember it for the rest of our lives. Why? Why can the spoken word have such a tremendous impact? It can get into our very beings, right? Whatever that method is, it's getting into our beings. It's imprinted in there, if you want to talk some little Twilight talk, but it's imprinted in your being and you remember it. You remember what someone said. I just went to my uncle's memorial. I remember a few things he said that guided me at other parts of my life. Just this morning, another thought came up of something that he said once to me, and can't think of it now, but it'll come back because it's in there. It's from 10 or 20 years ago. And so we remember things that people say to us when they affect us in a certain way, whether it's positive or negative. It could just be a teaching moment. So for my uncle, one of the things he said once is he was coming to visit. Often he'd come for a few days, stay at my aunt's house when I was in college, or when I was growing up, he'd stay at my grandpa's house maybe for a week or so. I would see him for multiple days. And one time when I was in college, he called and said, I'm coming into town, not even a whole 24 hours, but let's go to dinner. Let's go to a symphony. We don't need even 24 hours to have it be meaningful, make memory. I had in my mind, like a lot of times important. He lived on the East Coast, I lived on the West Coast. He taught me that you can make the most of that moment. This was back in my late teens, early 20s. And just knowing that from him, I can still hear him telling me that on the phone. It guided me in my life and it had power in my life. I've also heard negative things that have had power in my life. They've taught me other things. Sometimes when somebody said something, it it can bring feelings, right, if they're insulting or something. But even that can be a teaching moment, not saying that everything has to be rosy and glory, because some people can be really mean and scary, and you can be in a dangerous situation, and that can have power when you hear the tone of their voice, what they say to you. And you have to distinguish, if it's somebody that's saying something that's hard to hear, like a boss or a friend or a relative, and yet it's helpful to you. Like I had a roommate once who got really upset with me and just started saying over and over, "You think you're so perfect. You think you're so perfect. You think you're so perfect." I don't remember what it was about. It seemed more like she was maxed out more than what I was doing. And we shared the same room. She never showed ever that she thought I was so perfect. Or if anything, she dressed way more perfect than I did her hair really cute, went to paid to get it done, bought was it Gucci? There was some brand of perfume back there in the '80s that was, like, expensive, like $100 a bottle that she bought. I can't remember. I'll have to look it up because now I'm curious. I can smell it in my memory. But if anything, she dressed more perfect, looked more perfect, was tall, thin, the whole bit. But I don't know that I got better grades. But in that expressing rant that she had toward me, I remember those words, and not that I believed him, and maybe in some cases, somebody should believe that if somebody's acting like they're perfect all the time. What it taught me is sometimes people say things that can be hurtful, or maybe they're trying to be hurtful for some reason. Maybe they're hurting, but maybe they're not in a rational place, and maybe I need to know the difference between staying in a conversation and leaving that conversation. And that's what I learned in that situation, which is really interesting as a young adult without any information, no internet that teaches us everything. We can look things up, and people didn't really get therapy that I knew of back then. I'm sure people did, but it was an era when we weren't really learning about mental health or anything. But I could sense that there's times when people are balanced and when they're not, and when it just isn't good to continue because I think I was saying things like, what am I doing wrong? Like, what are you okay? Like I was trying to help her and, and ask if I did something, but she wanted to just keep repeating that. And that spoken word and in the tone that it was taught me that there are times to stay and reason and discuss. There are times that the spoken word is not going anywhere, even though there's power when it does go somewhere. But I've just learned lessons from different phrases said to me and different things that can come up later that later you use in life. It can be a negative thing. You could have somebody tell you that you talk too much or whatever it is that you may do in life. And if you have a great deal of confidence and it doesn't bother you, you might think, oh, well, I talk a lot and you don't. That's fine. It might depend on who it comes from. Because as I ponder this, I think of people that I went back, to my hometown later and they tell me things like, all you ever did was talk on the phone or all you ever did was, whatever, chatter with your friends or whatever. And I just think, that's funny. But then later, maybe people I care about more that might not want me to talk as much, especially when it's your own kids and they grow up. It's more hurtful for sure. But you remember those things. You remember the things they say because that 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 sticks into your being more than I think reading a letter. I've had hurtful things said to me in a letter before too, actually. I mean, here I am laughing. It's not nervous laughter. It's just, that life's crazy. Sometimes people can disappoint you or be hurtful in a letter. Sometimes they can do it in real life. And what you take out of that, it has an impact on you and can stick in your memory. But I really do think the spoken voice memory sticks more. And then when I got that card or when I wrote that letter, it might be how you learn. I don't remember phrases that I read unless I super try to memorize them. And even that, can take a while. But negative feelings that we might have from something, that can stick with us. If somebody really said something hurtful and then later they apologize, they've said the words, you believe them, and yet you still remember what they said and how you felt. And it can be hard to get rid of that other emotion. You may even hear something they say to somebody else that hurt your feelings. And I know hurt your feelings, some people say, we're in control of our feelings, but you feel hurt inside. And it wasn't even about you, but you made it about you. I thought of that this morning. I was putting on lipstick, and I don't often put on lipstick. I'm more like a lip balm person, but I thought put some on and, you don't have any color in your face. And it reminded me of a time of going to a Mary Kay party back in the day when that was a home MLM home party. Maybe they still do that. Maybe they just sell online. But everyone was doing the lipstick samples. I even remember whose house it was and at least 3 of the people there. And it's so dumb. I'm sure nobody else remembers, but one of my friends put the lipstick on and the Mary Kay lady said, "That color looks so good on you." And everyone said, "Yes, that color looks so good." Everyone emphasized how good that color looked on her. And I kept trying someone and I thought, why can't I find a color that looks good on me? And so for a long time, I thought there's like no color that looks good on my lips because no one said that to me. So having even assurance, having someone give you assurance when you're feeling a lack of it can be really powerful. And if you ever think about somebody else, like, I think she looks so lovely today, or I really enjoyed what that person said, or anything that you have, like some kind of compliment or positive response to what somebody does. And if you withhold that, because sometimes it can be you can feel a little vulnerable, a little uncomfortable saying, I really appreciate blah, 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 blah. Sometimes that feels natural to think people, and other times you're opening yourself up to do that. And I know the whole last episode was all about sharing, oversharing, all that stuff. But sometimes you can still, even if you're somebody who loves to talk, loves to participate. You might have certain situations where you hesitate, where you think, I don't need to tell them this. Probably people tell them that all the time, or they already know it, or whatever and whatever. I have never had a situation except for maybe like with my own kids. And if they say something like, oh, you have to think that because you're the mom. And my kids are past that point, but there was a phase. There was a phase. But 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, giving that person that assurance, whether they've heard it before or not, is helpful. It might mean more to them from you. Why? I don't know. Life is crazy. We all have our measurements, but giving someone insurance with your voice is important, and just doing what you can to boost people up and help them feel good about yourselves. So saying out loud, I'm just reading my notes really quickly, because another thing, when you speak to someone else, like I said, they could remember it forever, or maybe they won't. So maybe you tell them more than one time. I had a gathering with what was my birthday years ago, right before we moved. So birthday of 2021, and went out to lunch with some friends, and they did that most fun thing ever. And I didn't even suggest it, where we went around the table, and there weren't very many of us, but they took turns giving me praise. I don't know how to say it. Just saying what they liked about me. And it was all so surprising. I knew that they all liked me, but the things that they noticed in me and remarked about just surprised me. I just thought, I didn't know they thought about that about me. I didn't even know that I did that in some situations. And I was glad because they were positive things, and a lot of it was how I impacted them. But even though they said it, I have that feeling. I still have that feeling with me. I couldn't remember all of them. I should have gone home and written them down as best as I could, because I try to think, I think I remember 2, but do I remember 3? Were there 4? All that kind of stuff. So the words may not stay with you forever. The feeling, the goodness, the connection may stay forever. But even if it's just in the moment, even if the words are just powerful for a moment, they're still powerful, because life is made up of moments. And each moment determines who you are, what you do in the next moment. So it's just super impactful. Going to the power of hearing your own voice. So this is something that you may or may not have thought of. If you're talking in the moment, like right now, I can hear myself talk. I might question what I'm saying. I might notice it as I go. I don't do that as much on the podcast as I do in yoga, because in yoga, somehow it slows down time. And I kind of notice I'm saying elbow and I meant knee. You can judge those things, or I said this word and it's not a very pretty word. I'd rather use a word that's a little more graceful. And I try to try to craft my words in words that are peaceful if I can. And it's been kind of fun as an English major to do that over time. But when you hear your voice later, whatever you say now, if you hear it later, you might be surprised at the impact it has, especially if it's a message to yourself. And this is the biggest part of this episode that I want you to hear. So if you don't have time and you're kind of busy and you're cleaning and you're walking in and out of the room, I mean, hopefully if you go from room to room, you have the earbuds in. But I do that sometimes, where I have the earbuds in and a podcast will go everywhere with me, or I have it on YouTube if they're YouTubers or something. And I might go in the bathroom, put something away, come back in. I might miss 1 or 2 things. This is something I don't want you to miss. So you can push pause if you need to. If you're almost somewhere you need to talk to somebody or whatever, pause it till later. But if you have positive words for yourself, if you have something that you want to do, say it out loud, make a recording of it, and listen to it later and see what you think. You may not even remember that you said it, but that voice memo part of your phone, find it, the audio recording part of your phone, if you have that, you should, if we all have smartphones. It's also on your computer. Find that app or download one if you don't have it with your phone, but you probably do, your iPad or whatever. And tell yourself something that you want to do and give yourself a little pep talk about doing it. and see what happens when you listen to it later. And it might sound like, well, that's just, like, how's that any different than saying it the first time? Say it in the morning and listen to it the next morning if it's something for tomorrow, or say it the night before and listen to it in the morning. Write yourself a note if you think you'll forget to listen to it, or set an alarm on your phone if you think you'll forget to listen to it. But last night or this morning, I can't remember, I decided to make myself a voice memo. I haven't done it in a long time, but there was a very short amount of time where when I would be driving, if I had an idea for a podcast, I would just click my voice memo on my phone and just spill out the ideas. And not like, remember to do this. It was more just like I was talking to you, but get those ideas out, the subject, the ideas, and so forth. So this morning I had the idea to do that because I thought I'm not going to be able to make the podcast till after I go teach my hot yoga class. And I'll just put these ideas down because I know if I just try to remember later, I won't. And if I even try to wait till I get in the other room with paper and pen, I may forget. So I just did it. And at the end, because I had ideas for 2 episodes, I gave myself a little advice, a little pep talk, because sometimes I think things like, you should do this, but I only think them and I don't say them out loud. All the time when I teach yoga over on this yoga mat over here in this little yoga area, I have ideas. After this yoga class, I'm going to reach out to this person, or I should make some videos about that are in addition to my live classes. Do I ever do it? No, I forget. I go in the other room and I forget. And I need to have, how people have notepads by their bed and stuff. I need to have my phone there and just tell myself right after class, do it. Because, or even just write during the class while people in Shavasana or child's pose or something, because I always forget. So this morning, that was my idea, is I just, at the end, thought, it's kind of like if someone's leaving and they're on their way out and they say, do you need anything? And you say, yeah, I need this and this. And then you say, while you're at it, get this too. Or can you stop there too? So I gave myself an extra note and I said, make 3 episodes today, record 3 episodes today. Well, I hardly ever even record 2 episodes in one day. Most of the time I do that if I'm going to go out of town. But I told myself to make 3 episodes today because I know what it's like to get behind. I know what it's like for life to get too busy, or children to need help, grandchildren to need help. And the time that I thought I had is no longer there. And the World Series is coming up. I might want to watch a game or something. So all these things, right? So I said that to myself, make 3 episodes today, and probably forgot that I did it. Went and taught my hot yoga class, came back, did a bunch of things, and I thought, okay, time to go in and record your 1 episode. That's all I thought to do. Because that's my go-to, is to record 1 episode. And even if I do 2 in a day, I might think about it a few hours later. Like I'm not a batch recorder person. There are a lot of people who work in batches. Like when you make a batch of cookies, you can double the batch, triple the batch, triple the recipe. Or at Christmas time, Hanukkah, anytime that you make cookies for some big occasion, you might make 3 different kinds and you're just doing it all at once. You're getting the kitchen messy, you might as well do it all at once. That's how a lot of people record their podcasts. It's how a lot of people do a lot of things that they do in business. And for me, it's always been, yeah, that'd be nice, but I have not done that. So I've been more like, it's time to do this, it's time to do that. And it could be part of my ADHD of like, oh, now that I'm done, I need a little break, and then I can do it again. But at the end of my recording, when I listened to all my ideas for today's episode, I kind of laughed because I had forgotten that I told myself, oh, and while you're out, make 3 episodes. And here's a couple other topics. And I just thought, hearing me say that has so much more power than seeing it on a to-do list, seeing it on a Post-it note, seeing it on an alarm. Sometimes when my alarms go off and it has like a dream task of, oh, if I just write this on my alarm, then I'll get myself to do it. More of that, like, wouldn't that be great if I took all my photos and scanned them all and digitized them? It's something that I've been wanting to do for about 4 years, but that's like a dream task. But I look at it and I think, oh, it's not happening today, and ignore that thing on the list or on the alarm. But hearing me say it, I heard the tone of my voice. I heard the excitement for doing it. I heard the passion. And even if you take all of that out, I can't even describe to you how powerful it was to hear me say it. And I thought, yeah, yeah, that's your being saying that that's what you should do. Listen to your being. Listen to yourself. You know that there's some meaning to that. And that is one thing. Another way that your voice can help you is something that comes for your voice from your voice, but then eventually comes from someone else's voice. And I'm actually going to pause because I need a drink of water. And of course, I have to explain as I pause, but I'm going to pause here. Oh my goodness, it is so good to hydrate. Got my big hydro flask, and I don't know if you tip over water bottles. Actually, I dropped this one, probably put that dent in it today if you're watching on YouTube, but at the bottom of a lot of water bottles, it's metal. And I don't know if you ever have them. I'm going to turn this. I think I bumped the microphone. Hopefully I'm not making noise by changing it. But they can make a lot of noise, like in your kitchen, if you have a noisy hardwood floor tile house, they can be noisy. And if you go to a yoga class or a fitness class and you put them down on the floor, unless it's a rubber floor, I know this isn't what I was going to talk about, but I have to get this out of my head. But they make some water bottles now with rubber on the bottom, and my daughter gave me one, and I love it. But when I teach, I need more than one, and some of them spill more than others, and I've had some disasters in my yoga bag. So my daughter doesn't use this water bottle that has this little rubber thing at the bottom. I took it off and put it on this one and used it today, and it didn't make noise when I put it down in class, and it was kind of exciting, but it doesn't match. It's pink. And the water bottle has a Santa Cruz sticker on it that does not have any pink in it. So that matters to me, but at least I got my water. But back to the topic. Okay, so here we're getting to mindset again. And this is one of the best mindset activities I've ever done. And I've done a lot of them. And I learned it. I think I've probably described it on here before, but I'm going to bring it up again because it's easy to forget things and you may not have heard that episode. But it's the idea that you're going to give yourself some positive messages about yourself and you write them down. And writing them down is one thing. Looking at them later, putting them on little notes around your mirror is a really good idea. And you may already be doing something like that. And you can see memes like this. Instagram stories are full of them. You know, you are important. You are kind. I mean, that's from The Helper. You is all of those statements. But whatever it is, it doesn't need to be you are beautiful. It doesn't need to be that simple. It's an I am. It's an I am this. And it may be something that you know about yourself, but you don't 100% believe, or you would never say out loud. And you probably know your strengths better than a lot of people, but a lot of people know strengths that you probably don't see you have. So it goes both ways. So you could ask somebody, kind of do the birthday thing. Tell me what you like about me. I'm curious how I'm coming, however you want to phrase it. You can ask other people, but actually I'm getting far off because this exercise doesn't require that at all. Just find a notebook. It could be your calendar that you don't actually use as a calendar or planner that you just scribble on and just write down 10 things. If 10 is too many, write down 5 or 6. It doesn't have to be like a number that makes sense to other people. It could be 6, 7, whatever, but at least 5. And say something that's in the I form. It's not like the I message of communicating to other people how you feel. It is something like, I am a giving, loving human being. I'm intelligent. I have a brain that's capable of all kinds of things. You don't even have to word it eloquently. I did this exercise with a friend after I did it at a yoga retreat. And one of the things that she had in hers was that she was funny, that she was humorous, because she knows she is. And I discounted myself earlier. Maybe it was in the other episode. I can't remember if it was this one or the one before, because, I'm batch recording. So this is the second one of my 3 today. But she knew that she was funny and not everybody got her sense of humor, and that happens. But she still wants to feel good about herself for being a funny person. She knows that she's important to her children, even though sometimes they may not recognize that. So she wrote her list. And when I did this at this Yoga for Teens retreat, because teenage girls, especially, not saying it doesn't ever happen to boys, but this was an activity that was done at this Yoga for Teen training. And one of the things she talked about is their need to connect and to feel supported. But we wrote down our things. We wrote down those I statements to ourselves. I am this, these good, positive things. And then we partnered up with somebody. Everyone in this exercise, everyone at this training was a stranger to me. I didn't know anyone there. Never saw them again after those 3 days. But we did more of the yoga thing where we took turns and one of us just laid down on the floor, the yoga mat, blanket, whatever you wanted to do to be comfortable. And so while I would lie down, the other person would read my statements to me, not only one time, but 10 times, all of the statements. So now I'm wondering, was it 10 times 10? It could have been, but they were short. And even though I'm not hearing my voice do it, and I could do this as an exercise, I could record it and hear myself do it. Kind of tempted to try that. But I know that things like this are very emotional. When you lie down, when you slow down, feelings of hidden importance, if that makes any sense, when you know that you're important, when you know that you have so much to give, when you know that you do give, when you know that you have gifts, talents, whatever you want to call them, you have traits, you have ways about you that are magnificent, and you hear somebody else say that, even if you don't know them, that every time you hear it, it has deeper and deeper meaning. It's an emotional experience, and you can just choose 5 things. You can just choose 4 things. But like I said before, just do at least 5, because then you hear that 10 times is 50. Don't think things like I do. I'm just saying all these disclaimers because I tend to do that. Like, that sounds like that's going to take a really long time, or that might be weird, or all those things. I have all the same doubts. But try it, because if you want to understand more about yourself, you probably do understand more about yourself than you realize, but you have such a rejection, the ability to discount it in your mind, or even not believe it's true to begin with. And I'm not saying that we're all feeling bad about ourselves. You don't have to be that way. You could have a pretty positive self-esteem. There is still room to understand and recognize your worth, your contribution, your excellent ways. I don't know. I don't have the words to describe it. Because when you're with somebody and you're recognizing that in another person, their greatness, there aren't any words. You're just sensing it. You're just enjoying it. You're just absorbing it. And so to be able to absorb that about yourself is a really, really meaningful experience. With my friend, what we did, since we weren't even in the same state, I was in California, she was in Washington. So, you did it. I did the situation in person in the Yoga for Teen training with the person I never saw again. Still very impactful. But with somebody far away, if I if I send her my list of 5, 10 things, she sends me her list. Then what we did is I made a recording of me reading her list 10 times. And she made a recording of her reading my list of things about me 10 times. Then she laid down in her house and listened to me saying those things. And I did the same listening to her. You could also do it where you just record your own voice and listen to yourself say it and see which one appeals to you more. If you don't want to tell anyone to or ask anyone else to do this, if it feels awkward for you, you don't have to. You can even send me your, oh, this is such a good idea. You could even send me your 5, 10 things. Email them to me and I'll say them I'll send you an audio recording and you can just listen to that yourself. You want to do that? I've been told, I've been told ever since I started teaching yoga, because I can be a loud person. I can have a loud voice, especially when I sing. I've been told I have a very calming voice by a lot of people. That is something I would never have thought about myself if nobody else had said that. And a lot of people have said it, but I never, ever would have known if somebody didn't tell me that. I was really surprised. I'm like, really? Like, I have a lot of kids. I've always had a loud voice. It projects quite a bit. And I can project my voice in a yoga class, but apparently it's still a calm voice when I project, except for probably when I laugh or something. Then maybe it's not as calming. But maybe, laughter can be calming too, for sure. But choose either to write down your iMessages to yourself and make your own audio recording to listen to. And you need to be by yourself while you listen to it, or just put in earbuds or something and go lie down, relax. I find it as a yoga teacher to be better to lie on the floor than on a bed or a couch. A floor is 100% supportive. Unless you have back pain or something. I don't want to give you any back pain, hip pain, or something to lie down on the floor on your back. I have had times, especially if you have little yoga teacher talk. But if you have psoas problems, sometimes lying on your back can be the worst thing. So don't do it if it hurts. But if you're on a bed, you're constantly kind of moving and adjusting, and your body sinks in. Same with the couch, same with any kind of even relaxing chair. But if you lie down, you can elevate your feet on the bed or the couch, your calves. You can have your legs up the wall. If you've done yoga, you scoot you can scoot all the way to the wall with your legs up the wall, or just have your feet touch the wall and be back away. Whatever's comfortable. You can have a blanket, whatever. Try to give yourself that time. Even just go take a bath, go in the bathtub. If that's your only way to get your 5 minutes peace, if you know that, that children's book, 5 minutes peace, and the little elephant tries to get her 5 minutes peace by locking the bathroom door and taking a bath. But whatever your place is where you can just be there and relax, either listen to your own voice recording or listen to your voice, because those words came out of you. That's what your voice does, is it comes out of you, your thoughts, whether it's impulsive and you don't really think about it first, or you really give it some thought. But sometimes it's a stream of thoughts, right? They're coming out as fast as you're thinking at them. And that's sometimes why we talk so fast. But your voice, whether in your voice, in the sound of your voice or not, listening to that either from my voice, a friend's voice, or your own. Either make your own recording, ask a friend to swap and do that with you, or someone in your family. It doesn't have to be a friend. My husband's not really interested in yoga at all. But if I'm telling you right now, if I did something like this with him, he'd probably be crying more than I was, because it can have enough power. If you cry in this experience, not to scare you away from it if you are resistant to crying, but crying is a very powerful way to express emotions, whether you're sad or not. And it's really beneficial for the body. It relieves stress, anxiety, all kinds of things, tension. Who knows what's in there? Give yourself that. It could be you're letting go of a feeling of inadequacy that you had about something that you didn't know. It could be somebody telling you once that you weren't funny when you thought you were funny. It could be, and your message, or just hearing it. It could be something you can't explain. But if you cry, just know it's normal. It's normal. It happens in yoga classes, happens in experiences like this, happens in meditations. Why? Because we build things up in our bodies, and sometimes that's the way that it comes out. And give yourself permission to do that if you need to do that. Oh, I think that's it. I'm looking at my notes. Speak kindly of others to others. Speak kindly to yourself. I wrote that down. Just knowing the power of your own voice can help you know that what you say to others, it can have an impact for years to come too. So if you go to a makeup party and you tell somebody that that color really looks good on them and somebody else looks sad in the corner, maybe help them find a color that looks good on them too. Isn't that crazy? Did you think of anything as I was talking that of a time that somebody said something that just stuck with you? You might not think of it now, but it'll probably come up. It'll probably come up. Another thing I thought of, which was more of a teaching moment, but it was still just how impactful one person's comment, or now, people talk about if you talk about how somebody else looks, that's a judgment, whether positive or negative. But as a child, when do you remember knowing if you were popular or unpopular, liked or not liked, if that's a different way to look at it, or I mean, in the case of some of my kids in trouble, the one that got in trouble in class or the one who didn't. Or because I remember probably from second, third grade, I know who the two boys, maybe three boys, and eventually four boys when one boy moved into her school. I remember those boys that were the ones that got in trouble, and one girl named Martha got in trouble a lot. She talked a lot. She was a little bit more what we call weird or something. I'm sure there was nothing wrong. She just was more wiry emotionally and talking, but so at some point when you're growing up, you recognize those things, like who's getting in trouble, who's who does everybody think is pretty, who are the boys that when they play kickball, everyone picks them first because if you're as old as I am, they played kickball on the playground. They got chosen first. I got chosen last. I wasn't very athletic. I maybe was well liked. I don't know. I just had friends, or I didn't have friends. But there's a time when you start to notice those, who's this and who's that. And one comment that somebody said to me in fifth grade, before that, I didn't know. Somebody said that I was pretty. Maybe they even wrote it in my yearbook because it was the first yearbook, that I was pretty. And I thought, I'm pretty? Because I was just a kid. Like, you were just a kid. You were just a family member, a sister, or a daughter. I mean, I'm sure my mom told me, you look pretty, going to church or getting ready for school. That's different. Like, like my kids said, it's, you're my mom. You have to say things like that. So it's not that I didn't believe it from her. But when someone at school said that, I thought, really, am I one of the pretty girls? And then I felt a pressure. So it's funny, the power of words. I felt a pressure, like to brush my hair or something like that, and I'm not saying that it was always pretty, like there's the braces phase, the weird hairstyles, the who knows what, where you look through and you just go, ooh, like maybe that person wasn't so accurate. But because that one person said that one thing, it made me aware of who was pretty, or that there were people that people thought were pretty or good looking. I never thought of it before. I just thought people were people, but I knew that they were better at sports, or that some were smarter, or some got in trouble. Like those were the things I noticed. And my son said when he went to middle school, he came home and said, I guess I'm not popular. And this girl told me, if you want to be popular, don't wear basketball shorts. Wear shorts like his and a shirt like his. He didn't know. He was blessed not to know what the word popular meant, or that there was even such a thing, until that girl told him. He could have gone blissfully through middle school wearing his glasses for his astigmatism, not even think. But I think she also said something about his glasses. So, and he was squinting so much at school, the teacher and the soccer coach told him to get glasses, and eventually he stopped wearing his glasses. But yeah, words are powerful. That's my whole point. They're powerful. So think of what you're saying to your kids. Maybe they don't listen to us very much anyway, but they probably do. I shouldn't say that. They do. But they also forget a lot of things. I'm sure we do too. The power of the spoken word. Oh my goodness. The power of the spoken voice is what I wanted to say, not just the word. but the voice, hearing it through a voice, whether it's your voice or another voice. Thank you for listening today. Thank you for letting me come on here. I I get to see how many downloads there are each week, each month. And even though it doesn't compare to super popular podcasts and things, there are people that say on their websites, 1 million downloads, or I don't know, maybe way more than that. If I looked and there weren't any, it'd be hard to keep going. So I so appreciate you. Even if I don't hear from you, I so appreciate you because it keeps me going and it helps me understand my ADHD better. I have both kinds, the combined kind. And it helps me understand life better and make sense of it. And it's fun to do too, to make sense of it all. But also go to my website if you want to send me an email, or if you just even go to the same channel, Inspiring Women with ADHD on YouTube. On my last episode, I was saying you could email me, you could whatever. You can message me on YouTube. You can message me on Instagram. Inspiring Women with ADHD. I don't think there's any dashes or anything. You can look. It's the same picture as my podcast picture. Oh, actually, it's not. It's just a picture of my face with, I think, a green background. And then you can also go to my website, renee-allen.com, click About, and on that page, you can email me from there, or you can sign up for anything that's on there, any of my free materials. It'll get you an email and you can write to me. So when you write to me, if you want to do those 5 things, 10 things, write your iMessages. I will make you an audio recording reading them to you 10 times. It might be 100 times if you give me 10, but I can do that. And then just see what it's like and let me know. I think that's it for now. And I still have an hour and a half before I have to leave for my next yoga class. So I do have time to record again. I probably should before I go. Episode number 3, because I shared with you I was going to record 3 episodes. Let's see if I do. I should listen to my message again, so I do. But thank you so much. I will be back, and do write to me. I'll write back. Bye.
Open windows, broken shadows. Frozen dreams are left for tomorrow. Without a cause, no time for a pause. The silence of sound has yet been found, but not by me.